Despite continued coalition airstrikes, forces loyal to Colonel Gaddafi have regained control of Misrata, Libya's third largest city. The offensive has trapped thousands of Egyptian and sub-Saharan African workers who are trying to flee the fighting. Meanwhile, NATO members are meeting in an attempt to resolve the problem of who will ultimately be in charge of the military operations against Libya. Middle East correspondent Ben Knight reports from Tobruk.
This is an unusual sight in the Middle East. An Arab city turns out to praise the likes of Britain, America and France. But thousands of people massed on the streets of Benghazi to thank the international coalition, which they credit with saving their city. While the rebels in Benghazi celebrate, fierce fighting is still taking place elsewhere in Libya. It's not clear where this vision was taken, but it appears to show Gaddafi's forces firing at the rebels from the desert. And there are reports that government tanks have shelled the hospital in the rebel-held city of Misrata. But that's a claim the government denies.
There are no any military operation on the ground in Misrata. The situation is just confined to a number of pockets of violence and snipers scattering in different areas of Misrata.
The rebels have continued their efforts to push towards the key strategic town of Ajdabia. If they retake it, they will control the east. It's a task that remains difficult, but it has been made easier by the coalition's bombardment of government military targets. It's believed these are shots of a key military base in Tripoli that was hit during the night.
The Allied airstrikes have taken away Colonel Gaddafi's control of the skies, and this is now largely a ground war between the regime and the rebels. Those rebels say they will need continued military support if they're going to succeed. But the coalition's brief is to protect civilians, not to help them win a civil war.
The British military says Gaddafi's air force no longer exists as a fighting entity. The United States is hoping it can hand over control of the mission this weekend. But the coalition members themselves can't even seem to agree on where the limits of this operation should lie, how far it should go, when it should end, or even how it should be carried out. The Western countries who've led it so far, Britain, France and the US, are trying to spread ownership of the operation far and wide, including to Arab and African nations, to avoid the perception in the Arab world that this is just another Western attack on a Middle Eastern country. But even European countries like Germany and Russia are uncomfortable, ranging between qualified support and outright questioning of the extent of the airstrikes, all of which should make the rebels in Libya very nervous. Ben Knight, Lateline.